Hello YouTube, welcome back for another video. Tonight I thought we would unpick a really common complaint I hear from students, and that is the ubiquitous "I can't vibrate with my fourth finger." Now, if you have watched any of my other content or followed me for a while, you will already know that I'm about as underprivileged in the fourth finger department as anyone is ever likely to be. So when a student says to me, "I can't vibrate on my poor little fourth finger," they don't get a lot in terms of sympathy, but they do get a lot of solutions, and we're going to look at those right now. How well we can vibrate with our fourth finger has got absolutely nothing to do with whether we have got small hands, large hands, short fourth finger, long fourth finger, but it's got everything to do with how well we use and position our left arm to put as much weight as possible into the fourth finger and balance so that we can vibrate comfortably. And whenever I see a student having problems with fourth finger vibrato, the root cause of the problem is 99% of the time that the weight of the arm is not adequately balanced on the fourth finger. What usually tends to happen is that a good sort of 60–70% of the weight actually gets retained on that side of the hand, so on the first and on the second finger, so that we're trying to vibrate with the fourth finger. Now you can see it's really tense when I try to do that, because actually all my weight, the center of gravity, is still on the very much on the first and on the second finger. So of course with that it leaves almost no room to get any sort of amplitude going. So that is the first thing we need to address. We need to make sure that our arm is really tilted in such a way that the center of gravity is on that fourth finger. Now, again, if you've watched any of my other content, you will know that generally when it comes to the left hand, I'm always telling people, always build the shape from the fourth finger backwards, not from the first finger upwards. Yeah, so that generally when you build your hand shape, you start by really making the fourth finger comfortable, and then you arrange the other fingers around that. And if you're in the habit of doing that, then you will already be in quite a good starting place here. But of course, as we are going, when we're playing from finger to finger, much as we do when we're walking and we're shifting our body weight from one leg to the other, really, or when, if you can see what I'm doing right now, we do this sort of little rocking motion. Yeah, we are having to really, when we're going from one end of the hand to the other, we have to shift our arm weight along. And in order to be able to do that, what is really important is that we have got an absolutely straight shoulder belt. Now that brings me to a very prolific bad habit in cellists, and that is that very often, if we're not careful, we have a tendency to retract our left shoulder. And again, of course, we do that and we try to vibrate, and there is all the weight, the arm weight hangs down here, nothing is in there. Of course, you're not going to get a supported note. So what do we need to do in order to get a really nicely supported fourth finger? We need to make sure that our shoulder belt is straight. Check that, I always say, check that your shoulders are right above your hip bones. So not twisted backwards, but really you should be able to draw a straight line down from shoulder to hip. Yeah, so and bring the upper arm. With that, you bring your, automatically, you bring your upper arm, you bring your left elbow forwards. Now, that is even more important if, like me, you have got a proportionately really short fourth finger. The shorter it is, the more you're going to have to bring it round. So, you see, and with sufficient weight, doesn't matter how short the finger is or how long the finger is or whatever, you can vibrate really nicely and really freely. So that is the first foundation of getting a good fourth finger vibrato. Now let's look at some exercises to train that, and to, first of all, to build up the confidence of really putting, you know, so to speak, all your eggs into one basket, in this case into the fourth finger basket, and to sort of build that confidence and also build the strengths in the fourth finger. So this first exercise I'm going to show you now was given to me by my old teacher, Raphael Wolfish, many years ago, I think when I was about 15 years old, and when I said exactly the same, saying, oh, I've got a tiny little fourth finger, I can't vibrate. So he gave me this exercise here, and it's served me really well, and really upped the level of my fourth finger vibrato incredibly quickly. So what are we going to do? We are going to play a chromatic scale starting on fourth position. See, by the way, do this on all different strings, but I'm going to for now show it on the D string. So we're going to do this. So I'm going down in semitone steps. You can see only using my fourth finger here. Arm stays nice and forward. The vibrato never stops, absolutely continuous. So the shift is only gets done by the elbow. You gradually close this angle here, but you never stop vibrating. And go back out. So you will have noticed that when I did it now, I had both my fourth finger and my third finger down. Now, that is perfectly acceptable. That is one way of doing it. And indeed, I think very often when I vibrate on four, I will have my third finger down, especially, you know, when you have a very small fourth finger. That can be really helpful. However, I also like to train it with only the fourth finger down. Now that is considerably harder. That is considerably harder on the fourth finger itself. But that is one of those exercises which, as I always say, it builds capacity. And by building capacity, I mean you purposefully make it a lot more difficult than what you realistically need day to day. Yeah? So it's a little bit like, you know, going to the gym. You know, you might not need to deadlift 200 pounds every day in your life, but by training that, your whole body will get into considerably better shape. So that is the first exercise, and actually doing this religiously and really mastering that you will find that it gives you so many more options in terms of fingering, especially when you're playing sort of beautifully lyrical passages. See, it just allows you to play really, really, really elegantly. So that exercise, when I just said build capacity, we can take that even another step further. We just did that exercise with 4 and 3 both down, but on the same string. Now let's go a step further and put 4 and 3 down onto separate strings. So in other words, we're going to play a minor 6. And so on and so forth. Now, when you do that for the first time, you will find that is really, 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 really hard work. But again, once you've mastered it, and by the way, again, try to do this, especially on the lower strings. Yeah? So, doing that on C and G will really train you here to properly bring your arm forward. Once you've mastered that, vibrating a single 4th finger, it's an absolute piece of cake. Finally, we want to practice the weight transfer, so that we're coming from, let's say, 1 to 4 or 2 to 4. We don't perpetuate this bad habit of holding some of the weight back on the lower fingers, but really immediately switch to releasing all our weight onto the 4th finger. So it's really a very subtle, very small forearm rotation that you need. Yeah, to just, again, if you watch what I'm doing here, you just very, very subtly rebalancing from being on one side of the hand to going to the other side of the hand. Yeah, so if you try doing all of those exercises really quite religiously for a while, you will find that your 4th finger vibrato will improve enormously. So finally, a few things to watch out for. You can see that whenever I vibrate on my 4th finger, my other fingers are completely relaxed. So a few sort of no-nos that you want to watch out for is either what I sometimes see, that people tuck the other fingers under here. You don't want that, neither do you want them up in the air like that, because all of that is just tension. That's, you know, vibrato by nature is actually release. It should actually be a relaxing movement, and anything that gets into the way of that obviously will impede our vibrato. So that is one thing to watch out for. Really, really relaxed fingers, and especially make sure your thumb is relaxed. Some people occasionally ask me, do you have your thumb on? Do you take your thumb off? And again, that is one of those things where I will say that is a really personal choice, that you have to experiment what works best for you. I personally, especially because I have to make so much ground up with my arm to make up for, you know, the sort of missing links in the 4th finger, I tend to take my thumb off. I scrupulously maintain this shape, but it doesn't sort of have to slavishly stick to the back of the neck. So sometimes, you know, I find that it might be here, but I still maintain the shape, because what you actually need to sort of, you know, maintain control is a shape, not any sort of grip. Yeah, so by all means do experiment with that, whether, you know, you can comfortably do it with a thumb on, or whether off might be slightly better for you. The most important thing is there should be no tension in the thumb, and you shouldn't be sticking to the back of the fingerboard. Yeah, and as with absolutely any left hand exercise, while you're doing it, please, please, please pay attention to the bow. And that is especially true if you're fairly new to vibrato, because what tends to happen is you're so preoccupied with your vibrato here that the bow tends to go a little bit all over the place. So while you're doing it, really make sure you control that your arm opens in a really controlled manner, closes, especially closes in a really controlled manner, and that you control the bow speed and contact point and all of these things. Yeah, so as usual, I hope this has been helpful. Happy practicing, everyone. And if you like this video and my content in general, then smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and if you would like more content, you can also follow me on Instagram at cello_Julia, or find out more on my website. And if you have a question, as usual, just pop them down in the comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and see you soon.